Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, my name is Tanisha and I love taking you along on my reading journey. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you all about my reading journal. This is the third video that I'm making about this topic. I made 2 book journal tours before, but both of those videos were about my 2025 journal, and I now have a 2026 journal, which is a completely different journal with a different layout, different themes and stuff like that. So my journal is split up in 3 parts. In the beginning of my book, I have pages that I will use the entire year. I have pages that I only use during a certain month, and then comes the rest basically, but that will make sense when I talk about it. So let's start with my welcome page. So this is my welcome page. I printed out some newspaper clippings from Pinterest. I printed out the letters and I made a fun title page with it. And that is also something that you will see a lot in this journal. In my last journal I was drawing and writing a bunch, and in this journal I am more printing things out and not as much drawing things, just because drawing your own themes take a lot of time and I just don't have as much time as I had last year. So that is why I am choosing to do it like this, but obviously everyone can do it the way they want. This is also just what I like right now, and I might change my mind later on in the year, but right now this is the style that I like and I am going with it. So that was my title page, and next I have my 2026 TBR, which looks like this. I have decided to draw a bunch of books and write the titles of the books that I want to read in there, and I will color in the books that I have read. So it is very different than what I did last year, since last year I had printed out all the covers that I wanted to read and I would put the rating of the book on it to show that I read it, but right now it is very clear that I've not made much progress. So it really gives you a fun visual overview of what you have read and also motivates you to read the books because you want to color them in. And this is also a page that will look prettier the longer the year goes on for. Same with the next book is my bookshelves, and these are again a bunch of empty books, and every time I read a book I write in the title and I color it in, and the color of the book correlates with the month that I read it in, because I thought it would be fun to see what months are more reading heavy and what months aren't. And right now last month is winning with 5 books. Then I have my physical TBR as well as my book editions page. And with the TBR, which is my physical TBR, I drew a TBR card on my iPad and I wrote in all the titles of the books that I had on my physical TBR on December 31st of last year. And my goal is to read at least half of these books. And next to it, I put the new books page because I thought it would be fun to keep track of all the physical books that I buy this year, and I will color them in if I read them. And so far it is the end of May and I only bought 1 book, which is Yesteryear. So I'm pretty proud of that. But I also only read 1 book from my physical TBR, so yeah. After that comes my series tracker, where I keep track of the series that I'm reading, and this is also a Dutch door method. So there are 4 different sheets that can be filled with the series that I'm reading, but I'm not really in the middle of a lot because I also abandoned a bunch. But if you want to hear all about the series that I'm in the middle of, and if I want to continue them, let me know, because I can make a separate video about that. The next page is one of those pages again that will become more fun the farther we are in the year, because this is my monthly tracker where I keep track of how many books I read each month. So for each month there is a bookshelf filled with empty books, and every time I finish a book I will put in the title and color it in. And the colors that I use is the same that I use in the beginning of my journal, with the bigger bookshelves for the entire year. I also have a book Tetris where I put in the blocks according to the rating that I gave a book. I had a genre tracker last year, and even though I really liked tracking my genres like that, I thought it would be more fun to track my ratings since there are not as much options with the ratings. So I decided to track my genres in a different way, which you will see next. But before that, I will show you my page tracker. This is where I keep track of the pages that I read, or at least the thickness of the books that I read. Just because I think it's fun to see how thick the books are that I read, what my favorite length is and stuff like that. Next up is the genre tracker that I was talking about, which looks basically the same as the page tracker. And I also have a format tracker, which looks also very similar to the genre tracker and the page tracker. I also have A to Z challenge where I put on the book cover of the book that correlates with the certain letter. And for me, I honestly think that I have read quite some books with different letters. Another page that I have been making quite some progress on is my book bingo. This has a bunch of different and fun prompts that you can tick off with the books that you read. And this is also one of those pages that get way more fun the more you color in. But since I finished my bingo pretty fast last year, I decided to make a third bingo page with some extra prompts that were a bit harder than the prompts on the original page. And I also have a reading through the years page where I keep track of the years that I read books. This is kind of like the A to Z challenge, but instead of reading books with A, B, C, D, I am reading a book for every single year that I was alive. So I start in 1999, which is my birth year, and it goes all the way up to 2026. Then I have 2 pages where I can put in book covers. This one is a page for the non-fiction books that I read, and then a page for the book of the month where I stick in the book cover of my favorite book of the month. And I also write down the book of the month on this page where I write down my favorite book, and they are in a competition to be the book of the year. And then we're already up to the last pages that I will use for the entire year, which is just a simple reading log. And for each book that I read, I write down the title, the author, the page count, and my rating. And I have 4 different pages to fill up with all the books that I read this year. And then we're already at the second part of this reading journal, which are the monthly pages. I cut out the pages in a little index for each month so I can easily find the month that I'm looking for. And for every single month I have the calendar where I can write down the day that I finish a book. And I also make my TBR. So for January I went for a pastel checkered theme. And I didn't read any of my TBR books because I was in a pretty bad slump. For February, I went for a grandma wallpaper theme with obviously little hearts. And I read 2 of my TBR books. And I'm obsessed with this theme. I think it is so cute. Then for March, which is my birth month, I had a birthday theme. A little bit more colorful than the other themes. And here again, I didn't read any of my TBR books. In April, I wanted to go for spring, so I went for strawberries. And I read all 3 of my TBR books. And this is also one of my favorite themes that I've ever done. And for May, the current month, I just went for a light blue theme. I had a little longer TBR this month, but so far I have only started what I soft DNF'd it, which was Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. And I'm currently reading The Names, which is also on this TBR. But you will hopefully hear all about my thoughts on The Names in one of my next reading vlogs, because I'm filming it right now. After May, you obviously have some empty pages for June up until December. But after December start the wrap up pages and just the pages that I want to make on the spot without planning it in advance. So first up, you have a wrap up page for both January and February. Then I decided to stick in my spring TBR, which I have been working on, but I'm not really reading from this list, as you can see. But I really like the B theme that I went for. Then I have my March wrap up, obviously in the same theme that I used in my monthly pages. And then I have this gold envelope, and in this envelope I have put my receipts from the library, because I have been trying to get books from the library and read them, but I cannot show you the receipts because my full name is on it and also my city. And after the library envelope, there is this last page for my April wrap up. And there is obviously room for my May wrap up next to it, but that hasn't been made yet since I'm still in the middle of May. And that is basically my reading journal. It is pretty simple. I just try to update it once a month. I plan an hour or so for me to go on Canva and on Pinterest to get the supplies that I need. So I will copy and paste the book covers that I need. I will copy and paste the wallpapers that I want to use as the background, and then I just print it all out. I take a full morning or afternoon or night, whatever I have free in my schedule, and then I just take a moment for myself to listen to a podcast or listen to an audiobook and just update my journal, which is so relaxing for me. I really like updating my journal, and I used to update it every single time that I finished a book, and I will still update some of the pages every single time, but most of the pages I will try to save up until that one moment in the month, just so that my journaling moment is more filled up with different pages. So at the end of May I will make a May wrap up, and maybe other pages if I have some inspiration, maybe some book club pages or whatever I want to do basically. So this was my reading journal. If you have any questions, leave them down below. You can also watch my other videos to get some inspiration. I get most of my inspiration from Pinterest, TikTok, other book videos. So I highly recommend going there for more inspiration. Yeah, and I will try to update you again later on in the year when I have more themes to show you, when the book is filling up more and more and more. Even though I'm only in the 5th month of the year, the book is already pretty thick with all the things that I've stuck into it. So I'm kind of scared about how thick this book is going to be at the end of the year and if it will hold. So yeah, that was my video. Thank you so much for watching. Comment down below what theme you would use for June, and I will see you in my next video whenever I post it. Bye!